They call that the Kentucky hug. Greg, buddy.
Anthony, I can't believe we're actually doing this.
I can't. Really? I can. I was
Yeah,
born. I was born for show business.
we've been talking about doing this for years, and it was definitely about time we decided to give it a shot.
Yep. No, I mean we've been talking about a lot. I mean, I bet you the wood for the bar that we were going to build 10 years ago is still sitting behind the house that you and I used to live in.
Still back there.
The rum
I wonder
runner.
if they used it to fix the rotting deck that they had back there.
Or the ceiling that fell.
Or the ceiling. No, they didn't fix that. That's still on the ground, I think.
But Greg, I think it's important to tell the people why they're here. And this is the inaugural podcast.
This is number 1, episode 1 of Something Neat. Do you want to give a little bit of a synopsis of our plans?
So the plan for us, for you, the listeners, is to learn about some pretty baller whiskeys, because the whole point of this is Greg and I wanted an excuse to drink together. Even though we live across the state of Pennsylvania, he is in Philadelphia, I'm in Pittsburgh. So we wanted a great reason to drink good whiskey.
All of our personal information.
It's fine. No addresses. So obviously I wanted a reason to drink with Greg, but also Greg and I tend to have pretty good banter, and we talk about neat things. So we like our whiskey neat, and we like neat things. So the goal of the podcast is to educate and indulge in good whiskey, and also to potentially teach each other things, and then also maybe teach you things.
Exactly. I think that is a perfect synopsis. Do you want to introduce the whiskey this week, since this was your plan and I searched high and low to find it?
I am so excited to drink this whiskey with you, and I have such a great story that it just pisses me off so much. So this is Henry McKenna. It is a 10-year bourbon, single barrel, bottle and bond, out of Heaven Hill Distillery in Kentucky. As most bottle and bonds are, it is 100 proof, 50% ABV. And so here's my short little story. I actually have 2 bottles of this in my house. And
how difficult it was for me to get one. I'm surprised you have 2.
So do you know why it was super difficult for you to get one? And why I'm upset that we were even able to get one in the first place and actually do this.
So I do actually say that it was difficult, but I think they actually said they had 15 bottles where I was at.
Yeah, but only 15. So look, here's the thing. So Heaven Hill Distillery is in Kentucky. They do a lot of notable brands that a lot of people know. If anybody knows Larceny, a really good weeded bourbon, that one is out of Heaven Hill Distillery. There's a couple other really good ones. So almost 2 years ago at this point, I was down there for a bachelor party, and we went to Heaven Hill Distillery and we did the connoisseur whiskey tasting, and you get a wristband specifically for that. And the only time I was told this at the Heaven Hill Distillery, apparently since then they've made a bunch more, the only way to get a bottle of the Henry McKenna 10-year bottle and bond is to A, buy it from there, and B, you could only buy 1 bottle per person, and you were only eligible to buy the bottle if you had done the connoisseur whiskey tasting. So when I walked into my local PA Wines and Spirits and saw it on the shelf, I was both excited and pissed.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I think you have fallen into their marketing trap, because it wasn't at the first store I went to, not going to lie. I asked them if they had it. They did not have it, but they were able to print me out a CVS receipt of all of the liquor stores in the area that did have it.
Yeah, so either not, they had to have just like
overproduced.
They had to have just overproduced it.
Maybe. Do we want to give it a shot?
Yeah, let's talk about it real quick. That's part of this show is in fact whiskey. Oh, that is so. There's like,
that does smell very
I'm
good.
getting, I don't want to be like a pretentious asshole about this, but it's spice but not harsh. Like I'm getting so little harshness off of this.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It tickles the nostrils a tad, but not a whole lot. You get a little bit of that ethanol smell, but most of it is really just like brown sugar.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's really good.
That's so smooth.
Oh, that's so good.
Ooh. And then they get a nice warm going down.
Yeah, they call that the Kentucky hug. I only tried a little bit when we were down there. It was the last one we got to try, and I only got to try a little bit.
Yeah, I am not upset about getting this bottle.
No,
This is delicious.
no, I'm gonna go buy another one actually, so I don't have to open the one that they told me I couldn't have.
I can get you like 20 more,
like 30 more of them.
As many as you really want. There wasn't even a limit.
Price point wise, not like egregious,
No,
not cheap, but not egregious. What was it out in Philly?
Yeah, I think here it was like 63 or 64.
Yeah, that's yeah. It was I want to say it was like it was like mid 60s, which for a 10-year 100 proof, I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, for this it's not bad at all.
10-year 100 proof.
I mean, you mentioned larceny, and that's something that I think of as a kind of normal everyday drinking kind of thing, and you're looking at a
38,
40 bottle. Part of me was thinking we should do larceny as our first.
I almost bought the larceny single barrel when I was
thinking just plain Jane larceny.
Plain Jane weeded larceny.
Honestly, I go back to it all the time. It's always one of my favorites. It's easy sipping, and it's just a tasty little drink that's moderately cheap.
Yeah, absolutely. Over the course of the show, I think the best thing for us to do is not only try them, rate what we're drinking, and kind of like keep a tally of it, but also, you know, give recommendations and things like that. So we'll, over the course of this journey that we're going on, both in drinking and podcasting, figure out what people want. Do they want recommendations? Do they, you know, want to tell us which ones to try?
Our opinion? Do they want us to give tasting notes? Do they?
I mean, because cherry and molasses.
Our tastes are usually pretty similar.
Yeah, that is true. And you know what? Everyone's is unique. The beautiful thing about whiskey, probably my favorite thing about whiskey as a whole, is the variance between like what you get off like the bottom shelf and what you get off the top shelf. It compared to other liquors, the variance in whiskey I think is so small. A great example. One of my favorite bottles to keep around the house is the Evan Williams Bottle and Bond. I mean, you're talking like 20 something bucks a fifth. It's sitting on the bottom shelf. Like, is it fantastic?
No,
it's not going to knock your socks off. But after the first one, I can certainly drink it neat.
Then it doesn't really matter that much.
Well, 100%.
I was actually going to disagree with you just because there's this little thing called Black Velvet. That is the cheap of the cheap.
Black Velvet's Canadian whiskey, and we don't talk about Canadian whiskey.
We don't even bourbon or bust.
Well, we could probably touch on some scotches. So of the types of whiskey, rank them. Like you're like
types.
You know what I'm talking about. You know, yeah, types of whiskey.
I completely get you. Number one, bourbon. I'm a bourbon guy.
Okay.
I like the sweet. I like the mild smokiness. It doesn't hurt too much to drink it. It's kind of enjoyable. Second, I'm gonna go with probably Scotch.
Okay.
I think Scotch is probably number two because I do enjoy a little bit of peat, a little bit of that heavier smoky flavor that you can really only get from a good Scotch. Then number three is gonna be Japanese whiskey, which is pretty much Scotch.
I was wondering where you were gonna put Japanese whiskey.
It had, I mean, honestly, Scotch and Japanese whiskey had to be right next to each other.
I've had so many good Japanese whiskeys. I can't wait to do it on the pod.
Oh yeah, we're definitely getting some Tokai here pretty soon.
Tokai, there's another one. I'm blanking on the name of it. It starts with an S. I just recently had that's solid. But anyway, sorry. Go on.
So I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I've tried enough different ryes to be able to place them because I like ryes, but I've never really gotten into them. They got like a little peppery, like little spicy flavor. They're just not as good neat to me. But like these are solid neat. And then after that, I'm probably just going to say generic whiskey because it's very hit or miss. Sometimes they're great. Sometimes they're better left alone.
Like Black Velvet. R.I.P. Black Velvet. I have like an old handle of like, it's not Old Crow, but it's like, I think it's the same company that makes E.H. Taylor. Like a buddy got it out of like a basement of like somebody and just like, you like whiskey.
Go to this estate sale. Here's some liquor.
Yeah, I'll share it on one of them and just be like, because I've done zero research on it, but it's an old bottle.
I think maybe we'll record an in-person one
Yeah.
and you can bring that bottle, and we can
yeah,
crack into
because
it.
there's 100% no chance that you're gonna be able to find that. Like, it's definitely from like
No,
early 2000s at the latest, but
probably discontinued for good reason.
or it could be delicious. Who the fuck knows? I mean, maybe it
Well,
ages.
there's only one way to find
I don't
out.
think glass ages whiskey anymore. But
Does not.
so when you say generic
Yeah.
whiskeys, you're putting your Irishes and your Canadians sort of just down there at the
Whiskey.
yeah
Yeah, there's a
yeah
whiskey. I mean, I would put some Irish whiskeys up there just as kind of simple. They're no frills, but they're usually pretty
individually
alright.
sure. Like
Yeah,
I have
but I think
individual Irish whiskeys that are good.
yeah, but I think of like Canadian whiskey, Irish whiskey, and then what we just call like American whiskey as just whiskey. It all has about the same taste to me.
You don't like Bankers Club?
Oh, I love Banker's Club.
Yeah, I mean, there's a time and a place for Bankers Club. And here's if I'm at a dive bar,
And it's in a basement when you probably shouldn't be drinking it.
if I look, man, if I'm at a dive bar and I order like a whiskey ginger and their rail whiskey is like a Bankers Club or
I ask for
like
both.
a Seagram 7, like a 7 and
Seagram
7 or
7. I'm okay with Seagram 7.
well, 7 and 7, that's gin, right? Seagram 7's gin?
No,
No?
it's whiskey.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Well, either way. But
Yeah, it's also not great, but it's not.
yeah, but it's
I
but
think
I'm,
it's
but
not as
I'm,
bad as Banker's Club.
I'm gonna but I'm gonna drink it, but I'm not gonna go to the store and buy it. I'm not gonna have it.
Apparently,
I'm not gonna have it at
whoever
home.
you were friends with knew that you would just drink anything since they gave you a bottle out of a basement.
Well,
That we're gonna try.
I mean, to be fair, it also came with a Knob Creek 9-year and an Elijah Craig small batch, and there was like one other one that like
Okay.
it also yeah. So it's not like
I retract everything I just
there's
said
still
because
a
that
yeah,
sounds fantastic, and I wish my friends would give me those bottles too.
yeah, there's still a good friend. My list is pretty similar. It's not exactly similar, but it's pretty similar. God, I have such a hard time. I have such a hard time putting bourbon.
I knew you were
I
gonna
have
have
such
problems
a
with
hard
this one.
time putting bourbon over scotch.
I know.
Can we all right, I'm gonna break it into subgenres because like I hate my life and I want to be that guy. Bourbon over scotch, but I will put sherry cask scotches over bourbon. So any
I don't even know if I've had
scotch
sherry cask
scotch either aged or finished in sherry casks,
Mhm.
then bourbon, then all the other scotches. I have such a hard on for sherry cask finished scotches.
I hear that. Yeah,
they're
no,
so
I hear
good.
that coming out of your mouth because
Um
I don't necessarily. I mean, I don't disagree, but honestly, I haven't tried a sherry casked scotch. It's such a little niche thing.
add it
Like, how
to the
many
list.
different versions of have you tried?
So many. I have
Really?
I have like 3 on my bar right now.
Really? You want to grab them and show the people?
Yeah, that's the one. They're so far. They're the ones that I brought from Scotland. We'll do an episode where I'll show my Scotch collection.
Anthony Sly.
No, I have.
He doesn't have 3 of
No,
them.
I have a sherry finish spay. I have the. No, you're right. The one is a rum finish.
Anthony Sly.
It's 2. It's 2 sherry cask finishes. So, fun fact about sherry and scotch, if we're just going to talk about something, here's something neat. Fun fact about sherry and scotch is that Scotland buys a ton of Spanish sherry casks.
Scotch?
Scotland has a higher demand for sherry casks than there is a demand for sherry. So, Spanish wineries will make sherry, dump out the sherry, and then sell the casks to Scotland. Like, I forget what they said that they go for, but like multiple thousands. So like
Well,
a
how
lot.
much do the casks themselves go for?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like the casks are like
the
multiple
casks.
thousands of dollars that these distilleries in Scotland are buying them for. They're getting them. They're paying a lot more for those than they are for the used bourbon barrels.
I mean,
It's
that
like-
makes sense.
yes,
'Cause
so
I don't think
Scotland
I've ever
imports a
heard
ton of
anybody
used bourbon
reusing
barrels.
bourbon barrels.
Scotch,
Other than
almost all.
Scotch,
Yeah,
beer.
beer. Yeah, I mean, there's what Kentucky bourbon, the Kentucky
Yeah,
Bourbon
just-
Barrel Brewery or whatever. That's that whole
A
brewery.
lot of different ales. They use Scotch barrels or any kind of whiskey barrels for their aging.
You know, you can also get them old whiskey barrels as wood chips, chipped up to use in your smoker.
Yes, you can. You can get those, and you can also get so there's something neat. I do like to brew beer, and something that you can actually do instead of buying the whole barrel if you were going to try to brew a beer and you wanted to infuse some of that flavor, you can actually just buy staves of the actual casks and just have individual pieces rather than the whole thing. And it's really going to impart similar flavor. It's going to get you the character that you're looking for.
Yeah, you know Maker's 46.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, well, so that's how Maker's 46 is done. It's not
Really?
it's not finished in the most like classic sense. They don't take it out of the normal barrels and then like put it in another barrel to finish. It's a combination. So they take their regular makers, they open the barrels up, and they have a specific combination of staves. It's like, I can get even deeper into this because there's like it's like 7 different woods. It's like 7 different woods, and it's like 13 or 16, some weird number of staves. And for those that don't know, a stave is one of the planks that makes up a barrel.
Literally a piece of the wood on the barrel.
Yeah, so they have like a contraption sort of that like has the staves like just like hooked on, and they drop that in and they leave it in there for a certain amount of time. I want to say it's like 8 weeks, 13 weeks, something like that. And it imparts that flavor. But so they tried a bunch of different combinations of the staves, and it was the 46 one that they liked the best, which is why Maker's 46 is called Maker's 46. Now,
definitely something new.
There are, if you go to the Maker's Mark distillery, there are like different combos that you can buy only there that are like experimental ones, or like the staff came up with one, and like that's the one that like that's one of the ones you can get there. They'll invite like bar companies, like companies that own like multiple bars and stuff like that, to come in and do their own combinations and then like bottle it specifically for that group.
That's really cool.
Yes, it's a way of like finishing it without transferring it, because like it's like a hot topic debate in the bourbon community is it still a bourbon if I finish it in a different barrel? Because to be a bourbon, but is it? Because you're not supposed to use, because bourbon can't have flavoring. Can't add flavor to bourbon.
But you're not adding flavoring. You're just adding wood flavor.
But you're also,
but if you're also
bourbon has to be aged in a new charred oak barrel. So if you age it in a rum barrel, if you take the bourbon and age it in, so I mean it's still delicious.
It's technically a flavored whiskey.
I think
at that point,
I don't care. It's still delicious. I'm just saying that there are rules for what you. There are rules for what you can and can't put on a bourbon bottle.
Like the bottled and bond.
Bottled and bond is a legally binding thing. It's like it means something specific, but things like
one of a kind bourbon.
Not that's nothing. I'm trying to think of like there's one in particular that a lot of different bourbon bottles put on it. Like Kentucky straight bourbon. Yeah, so that's I don't know off the top of my head. I want to say that has something to do with either being specifically made in Kentucky or the mash bill. Oh God, I'm getting over a cold, but nothing like getting over a cold with whiskey.
Did you test positive for the COVID?
No, I'm actually pretty sure it's allergies. I get real bad summer allergies sometimes. Like, and I refuse it. The whiskey is the most self-medicating I do.
I heard if you get your ABV high enough, it kills everything in your bloodstream, right?
I thought you were supposed to just like.
I am not a doctor.
Bleach.
Yeah, just eat bleach.
Just drink bleach.
Again, not medical advice. We are not physicians.
So I think as an inaugural podcast, it might be a good idea to tell the people at home a little bit about us.
Yeah, we could definitely do that.
So give me what's your just like 30-second spiel on who Greg is.
Who Greg is. So hi, I'm Greg. No, you're not gonna.
Hi, Greg.
Come on. So hi, I'm Greg.
How Greg is he?
Very Greg. So my name's Greg. I am a microbiologist by training. I currently work in kind of the pharma world. And I enjoy having a whiskey from time to time. I like learning new things about a lot of stuff. So I think that this is a good place for us to kind of explore all of these topics.
Similar to me, you also collect Steins, I believe.
I do. I do have a pretty solid Stein collection, enough to where I have to be very particular about what I pick up.
I hate you for your Stein. I hate you for your Stein collection. It's so much better. It's so much better than mine.
You just got to look for them, man. Estate sales for the win. How about you? Want to give a little pitch about yourself?
Yeah. So Anthony, Pittsburgh area, similar to Greg. I also like whiskey and beer. I do not brew beer like Greg does. He does make it. He does actually brew some really good ones. I am in corporate America, sales. I have been in corporate sales just about for forever. Don't really ever plan on leaving. It's just the best thing. I can talk to people about whatever I want, and at the end of the day, as long as they, sign, we're good to go.
Anthony is the epitome of can sell ice to an Eskimo. I've seen it done before.
Well, if they need ice, if they don't need this ice, I have special ice in the back.
Honestly, we don't need any ice here because this is something neat.
This is something neat. You don't need to add ice. Anything we drink, you don't need ice. Big fan of video games. I used to stream on Twitch. Nothing big. Probably end up picking that back up now that I've dusted off all the audio and video equipment. And just, love life, honestly. It's, one of those times where you just sort of look back and you're like, okay, is this where I wanted to be in my early 30s? And I'm sitting here drinking whiskey at midnight with my buddy, recording a podcast, and it's about where I want to be.
We are actually 2 minutes from 1.
Whatever. Am I gonna, when we're done, answer some work emails? Probably.
Am I, when we're done, gonna answer some work emails? Definitely not.
Yeah, so Greg also has a YouTube channel that he has not really talked about where he's trying to make $1 million, and the podcast is one of those ways.
Greg is starting a YouTube channel where he's trying to make $1 million. Because I unfortunately recently got let go of my job in a corporate merger. Very normal thing. I was middle management. We're the first to get axed.
Yeah, we don't need you.
Redundant. So they got rid of me, and I've decided that let's see if I can just make money without having a 9-to-5. See if you can actually live the real American dream and have fun doing something rather than just sitting in a cubicle all day.
Yeah, no, 100%, buddy. Sorry, KB, I wanted to give you that little tiny shout out. And
I appreciate the fuck. I think we'll look at if I want to put it in or not.
Yeah, no, you can always cut that out. That's the beauty of podcasting, is it doesn't necessarily have to be live. But I mean, for the integrity of the episode.
Yeah, I might have to leave it in.
Yeah, for the integrity of the episode, uncut, unfiltered.
I'll probably be doing most of the editing with these episodes since I now have newfound free time.
Yeah.
Just say that 10 times fast.
Newfound free time, 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 newfound free time.
I wish I had said 3 times.
Something neat about Greg is Greg has gotten really, really, really good at just tuning me out. Yeah. I'm actually surprised that we can even pull off the podcast as a whole, because him responding to me and the things I'm saying has really to be difficult. Greg and I used to run a paint crew together, and when I say run a paint crew together, I would sell the paint jobs, pretend like I cared, and then say, hey, I gotta go do something as I lace up my golf shoes, and then Greg ran the paint crew.
Yeah, I remember him literally throwing paintbrushes out of the window of his car.
Out of the sunroof, actually.
Out of the sunroof. In a drive-by, because we needed more supplies. And he didn't actually want to help. So he didn't want to be on the site. So he literally just threw them and then went to play golf. Because that was how he ran a business.
I was late for the... Hey, you never didn't have a house to go to.
That's very true. And I don't think you ever had to have a repaint.
No. I didn't. Look, it's the reason that I have the job I do now. It's did I know? I mean, I can paint, but did I want to paint a house? No. Am I happy to walk around and knock on doors and convince people that their house looks like shit and they need to paint it, yeah, I'll do that all day long. It's great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's like going back to what I said, selling ice to an Eskimo. You had no problem at all, just walking up and being like, "Do you want your house painted?" And they were like, "Yes." Whether we could actually paint it well or not, that was up to me. I had to figure it out on the fly of how we were going to get to that third story dormer and
We had a
so you can
40-foot
have a
ladder.
on. We did have a 40-foot ladder.
We had the 40-foot ladder, and everything was fine.
Yeah, fine. All fine.
Everything I don't know what you're complaining about. What else would you have? It's fine.
I don't think complaining is the word.
You probably could have done without me singing musical songs nonstop the entire time.
So also, if you kind of step back from this, outside of me running the crew, we would also do kind of odd jobs and other things sometimes, to where we were spending 8 to 10 hours a day for weeks at a time.
More than that.
Yeah, probably more like 10 to 12.
Yeah, for a portion of that, I think we lived together.
We did live together too. Well, I was just talking about us working. We did live together.
Yeah, no. Yeah. We
Anthony has an obsession.
like 22 hours a day.
But yeah, no. Anthony has an obsession with show tunes and
not
musicals.
An obsession. It's borderline.
There are multiple musicals that I have never seen that I know the whole soundtrack to.
I like the ones I like, okay?
Yeah. Les Mis.
Yeah, Book of Mormon.
Mormon.
Once
one?
on this island too, and also Wicked, honestly.
I haven't. I think Wicked was post me moving across the state.
Yeah, maybe. No one mourns the wicked. No one. We're gonna get DMCA. No, probably not.
Yeah. No, probably nobody's gonna listen to this.
Hey, but they might. Speaking of, nobody's gonna listen to this. Somebody might listen to this. Who knows? Anyone that does, like, give us feedback. Like, tell us what you want to hear about. Do you want more about whiskey? Because I can talk about whiskey for forever. Like, we can do fun stories about the bottles that we get.
Yeah.
Or, like I said, the idea of something neat is every week to, like, tackle a topic that, like, one of us knows a lot about, or maybe neither of us know a lot about, and we did some research on, and we talk about it. So if you have a topic that you want to broach, obviously, write in. We'll have an email address. Here's the email address.
It is somethingneatpod@gmail.com.
Okay, perfect.
The more you know. Yeah. So we do have a bunch of kind of topics and ideas that we had. I was thinking things like how to make liquor, where different liquors come from.
I love that.
Kind of like the background, like whiskey, vodka, gin, rum. It doesn't necessarily have to be bourbon or whiskey, but we can broach really anything.
I actually have a really cool one that I'd never heard of before.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Aquavit. Have you?
I feel like I've heard of that.
Yeah, so it's like it's like a Scandinavian liqueur. It's like very herbal. It's like ginish, but it's not. Yeah, it's like not juniper forward. But
I think I had that in Iceland. Is Iceland where that's from?
Yeah, it's like in that region. I want to say it's like Scandinavian, but if it's like Scandinavian, that I would assume that would also be.
Or I might have just heard of it.
That straight with like a little bit of ice is a great sipper. It's almost like have you ever had green chartreuse?
Straight?
Yeah.
No. Usually I've only ever had it as a mixer.
Or you mean so I mean it's classically used as a component for a lot of typically higher end cocktails. Yeah, like apparently there's like none of those monks, and like I'm about to like start. Yeah, so we should just like start orphaning some kids to like go like
kids, so that we can have more monks to make chartreuse.
Yeah, like that's where orphans go, is like monkeries or whatever you call them.
Or
monasteries. They're monasteries.
Monkeries.
Well, because like
we're gonna send all these kids to the monkeries.
Well, no, okay, so like because nuns do go from nunneries. So like, forgive me for thinking that monks are monkeries. But it's a monastery. Shut up. The monkery. It's a monkery. No, it's a monkery now.
We could just learn how to make green chartreuse outside of a monkery.
Yeah, but it's not green chartreuse. So, like, it has to be made by like those. It's like made by those specific monks. Yeah. That's like the whole thing of it.
But couldn't we make something that's like equivalent?
Yeah,
Like how
maybe.
you can make Belgian beers everywhere, even though it's technically you're supposed to be in a Belgian monastery, aka monkery, in order to have
They're
that made.
they're just called monkeries now.
Yeah, they're monkeries. I think they're
The
monkeries.
No, no. I think the better solution is that we spark some type of like European conflict. Not that there isn't enough fuel already on that fire.
I think there's enough European conflict. We should probably try to spark less.
Just start sending the orphans to make green chartreuse. Like, can we have a silver lining in this conflict?
Be a green lining.
The green. There's well, to be fair, there's also yellow. There's
Call it the
also
Green New Deal.
the Green New Deal. That's where we send the orphans to the bunkery. There's also yellow chartreuse.
But we can't call it the Yellow No Deal. That sounds racist.
That's nothing about this is okay. Like if that's the line.
We have gone too far.
Have we? The Green New Deal sending the Eastern European orphans to the monkeries so that we can have our cocktails.
So cocktails can be made.
Jesus,
Priority.
that is just
Priorities.
that is the most Western privilege bullshit I've ever heard.
Either way,
So
back to
aquavit,
ideas.
delicious.
Yeah. Aquavit, and back to other ideas. I had a couple that were kind of near and dear to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
We'd go over some beer making,
Mhm.
how you do it from start to finish. We could also break up steps because honestly, we could probably do a podcast about different steps.
Oh, that seems tedious.
Yeah, no, we'll probably just do a start to finish because people don't really care as much as I do.
I mean, I care.
He's lying.
I do that a lot. Corporate sales.
But yeah, so that one, and then again, back to my kind of background, I was thinking we could do maybe some basic microbiology, but then tie it to fermentation and how we actually get the drinks that we enjoy.
Yeah, and like we could talk about how like different strands of yeast are used to do, and like there's like the brewer's yeast, and then like a lot like some distilleries are using like brewer's yeast now because they can survive at higher ABVs.
Exactly, they should actually be using wine yeast or champagne yeast, I would expect, because they can survive at the highest ABV.
Yeah, you would think that for the purposes of yield, but you would be shocked how stuck on tradition some of these distilleries are.
I mean, especially if you're looking at scotches and stuff that haven't changed anything for like 300 years.
No, it's like the 100th million generation of the same freaking yeast. So
yeah, the same little cell. They're like perfect little clones.
yeah. Do they yeast? They don't like they can just like reproduce infinitely.
Yeah, they do something called budding.
That was going to be my question. Do yeast bud?
Like another one kind of pops off and then it goes off.
Yeah, because they're not. I mean, they're multicellular. I just didn't know if they were.
They're single cellular.
Yeast.
Yeast are weird. Yeast are very weird things.
No, they're multicellular creatures.
They're single cell.
Are you? That doesn't sound right.
Would you care to wager a point?
I'm not gonna wager a point, but I think of yeast as like almost like little brine shrimp swimming around in the stuff.
You are wrong. They're just little single cellular circles things. Sure you don't want to wager a point?
No, I'm not wagering a point. And for those that are listening for the first time, which is everyone because this is the first episode, Greg and I have a whole thing where when we disagree on something, we wager a point.
This has been going back for
at least a decade.
Years?
Yeah, 12 years now.
12 years or so. I'm currently winning.
No,
but we discussed for the sake of the podcast.
Yep.
We're going to start back at 0.
Because you have absolutely zero proof that you're winning, and I don't believe that I do not think that you are winning. And by what margin?
I think it's a decent margin, actually.
It's not. You ran away to Philadelphia, and it's not a decent margin.
Different kind of running away. But yeah.
To get married because of love is weird. I will never, despite being the best man at his wedding and him being my best friend, I will never forgive him for abandoning me in Pittsburgh.
I mean, he has been invited to come out to my side of the world and enjoy Philadelphia. Because honestly, you should be in Philadelphia. You are a Philadelphia person. You're just living in Pittsburgh.
Oh, buddy, that is it's. I didn't realize that we were. I didn't realize that we were gonna start slinging insults like episode 1 of the
Yeah, dude.
podcast.
I mean, honestly,
You're not even a Philadelphia person. Greg likes the Cowboys.
I'm not a Philadelphia person. I don't even pretend to be a Philadelphia person.
No, you really don't. Nah, it's fine.
I'm more here because it makes sense for me to be.
Look, it's fine. It's not. I get it. I just wanted to draw attention away from the fact that I didn't know yeast were single cellular organisms. But anyway,
other things.
For those that don't know, yeast is what makes alcohol.
Yeah,
they take sugar, they break it down, and they make alcohol. I know the basics. I just didn't know they were single. I just thought they were I thought they were like little creatures, not like bacterium.
No, I mean they're not bacteria. They're bigger than bacteria. I'll give you that.
But they're still single cellular. So like, do they actually bud, or is it like a splitting of the DNA? It's like a mitosis kind of thing.
So that's what budding is. It's literally taking one thing, and then the DNA migrates, and then it buds, and it pops off a new one.
Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase.
I'm so proud of you.
What? No, I know biology.
I'm still surprised because you went to business school.
What? No, but I don't know. You know I retain random nonsense about everything.
Honestly, what you just said, I wouldn't have been able to just say off the top of my head, but you did have it all correct.
I know what all of them are, too.
Prophase, everything gets copied. Metaphase, everything gets lined up.
And then anaphase, it gets like, yeah, and then telophase. Yeah, okay, cool, yeah.
I'm so far outside of biology at this point. I'm mostly management.
Yeah, no, I mean, Greg, in today's day and age, did you really have any plans on using your degree and what you did in your job?
No. I worked in a lab for like a year and a half before I got laid off because our grant funding ended. And then I was like, how do I get into the industry so I don't have to deal with grant funding?
I mean, you remember Oleg, right?
Yeah.
So we had a buddy, did like bio background, real similar to Greg, worked in the labs at Pitt, all that, same thing, taught himself how to code and works for like Okta or something, makes way more than...
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, research, how much they make is just bullshit. It's like, you have to work so hard and learn so much to get to like 40,000 a year.
So that would you say that they tried so hard and got so far, but at the end it didn't even matter?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Greg and I also have really similar music tastes.
But in the end, it doesn't really matter.
We should do an episode on all of the different subgenres of metal.
That would be fun.
Explaining what all the different... So Greg and I both like rock...
I don't know if anybody else would find it fun, but I would.
No, there are people that find it fun. So Greg and I both really like rock music and like metal music. We also really like EDM, which is like a whole nother... Yeah. That's a whole nother thing in itself, but it is definitely put a clip from like your wedding. Greg and I, only two on the dance floor at Greg's wedding.
Just jumping around to Knife Party's Centipede.
Yeah,
for the whole song,
as we have for so many years.
I mean, we haven't done it in a while.
It's been a minute. Well, since your wedding. Another something neat about me. I used to DJ weddings. Still do upon request. But a side gig that I've always wanted to do, because I am also a licensed internet officiate.
Who licensed you?
The Universal Life Church. I'm also recognized as a Jedi Knight.
Yes.
I've performed 1, 2, 3, 4 weddings. I've done 4 weddings, and I have a 5th.
You almost did mine.
I almost did G-hole.
You almost did. At our wedding. Our officiant was supposed to be there.
Super late.
And wasn't there. Supposed to be there. Wasn't there still. We're looking at Anthony. We're like, hey, bud, honestly... I got
like the nod.
You just gotta say a couple words.
Oh, I could have. We both know I wouldn't have said a couple words.
Yeah, I think we would have been like unplugging your mic.
Greg, if you
They're like,
don't, Greg, if you don't think that I had like an entire thing, like
already planned.
already written in my phone for that wedding as a
Mhm.
just in case. I was so ready. I was so mad when she showed up.
She did
Like,
eventually show up.
she did. She did. And then I did I did the classic where's the rings thing.
It was funny for like half a second.
It was perfect. It was chef's kiss. Well, look, not everyone can be Little Miss Perfect like you.
Like me. I'm Little Miss Perfect.
I was gonna like finish that sentence differently, but I thought that was funnier if I just stopped right there. I could just imagine like that. What was that scene from Jim Carrey? It's like, Mr. Perfect.
I have no idea what you're talking about. My biggest issue is if I am ever your best man, I don't know how I will ever beat your speech. It was so spot on.
It was a good.
Like everyone loved it.
It was a good best man speech. I'm not gonna be that guy. We're not gonna share it on the pod. It was good. It was a solid. I have a pretty good track record of best man speeches.
How many best man have you been?
2 times.
Okay.
Yours I think might have been a little bit better, only because the first time I was the best man, the speech it was a good best man speech, but it was in combination with me bailing out the maid of honor who got way too drunk before she started giving her speech. So like, so she got she was like, apparently she was like real nervous about like giving her speech. So like it came time for it, and then she just started bombing, and I felt terrible. So like I like, I don't want to say like put a stop to it, but like it was like, give it up for.
Did you just cut her off?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, but I was like asked to though. Like I was pushed to do it. Like the bride.
Oh, the bride did. Okay, yeah, no, that's okay then.
No. Everything was everything was up to bar. Like everything was copacetic. It was like, thanks, appreciate you. Like, hey, like yeah. She did such a good job. Like raise the glass, and then like it's like so I had to like start from like a very awkward place. And then, like, do my spiel.
So did you have them raise a glass for her toast? Were you the one that did that part?
Kind of, yeah, a little bit.
Interesting.
Great whiskey story for the podcast. So, my dog's name is Glenn. We were in Scotland so, very good friend of my girlfriend's, works for a rescue, and he was available.
Yep.
The whole, like, we should get him. No, we're going to Scotland. We got stuff, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. We're like halfway through the Scotland trip. So we're like in Scotland drinking scotch. And I get this speech isn't the right word. Hey, can you imagine a child asking like Santa for something? Or like a small kid asking her parents to get a puppy? Like, I get this whole, like, sort of tipsy, I'll take care of him, I'll do all the things, he's still available, Hannah has him, yada, yada, yada. And it's like, it's impossible to resist.
Yeah.
But the dog's name at the time is Gabe.
Gabe?
Exactly. Yeah, that's my exact reaction.
Gabriel?
Gross. Yeah, like Gabe short for Gabriel. Yeah, exactly. So,
sorry, anybody named Gabe.
Yeah, we're really not trying to like. It's fine for a person, but it's awful for a dog.
Agreed.
That's a terrible dog name. So, at the time, my favorite scotch that I had while I was over there, it was a Glen Alecky sherry cask 12-year.
Another goddamn sherry cask.
The sherry cask scotches are my favorite scotches. There's a reason they were the top.
Same sherry cask that you have?
No. Because I made the mistake of not buying the bottle then and there, thinking that I would find it.
Couldn't find it.
Side tangent: scotches made by small distilleries in Scotland. If you see it and you like it and you have the chance to buy it, because it is not widely available. like you think it's gonna be. I
So would
went
you say
literally
the
one
Scotch?
city over. I went literally one city over and could not find it. Like
So would you
it
say the
wasn't there.
Scotches are like limited release kind of a thing? It's only
A
like
lot of
available
them.
right there.
There's
Yeah.
there's there's some of them. I mean, it depends. I mean, obviously, like your Macallan 10 is going to be
Mhm.
available anywhere you
Of
go.
course. But I mean, like the small kind of like distilleries, the like little places that you can only see like when you're in Scotland. I mean, I know that there's a lot of them that are exported, but even like when you're over there, is
There's
it hard
not
to
as
find
many
them?
export as you even think there are.
But I
I
mean,
mean, there's
even not just
so many that
exported,
you
like
can't even
when you're
you
in
couldn't even
Scotland.
dream to find here.
But when even in Scotland,
Hmm.
if you can you get them away from the distilleries, or is it only at the distilleries?
No, you can get them away from the distilleries, but like
Mhm.
a lot of stuff they do is like single barrel, single release, or like yearly release of. Okay, so like great example, like of the ones that I have,
Mhm.
three of the bottles that I brought back. One of them it's one of 1,200 bottles.
Mhm.
One of them is one of I want to say it's like 700 something,
Okay.
like very limited release, and
Yeah.
then the other one it's the Arden American made specifically for Inverness.
Mhm.
It's one of like 300 bottles.
Yeah.
That's it. Like
Very
what
small.
it's
I mean,
gone. Yeah, but it's
300. That's like what, one cask?
literally like, yeah, like one or two casks. That's it.
Yeah. That's super small.
Yeah, so you can get, they have the high productions, and the big distilleries have the high productions,
Mhm.
like Glenmorangie, all of those types of things.
You said like
You're
Glenfiddich
gonna,
and
yeah, Glenfiddich.
yeah.
You're gonna notice
Macallan.
I'm saying the word Glen a lot, which is really tying this back to the story of how Glenn got his name.
Oh, you know,
Yeah, which is the only reason I even accepted to go see him, which turned out to be a trap, and we came home with him. But
he's a great dog.
he is so unfortunately a good dog. Like if he was a bad dog, like I
It'd be
could
a
have,
problem.
no, but if he was a bad dog, I could have gotten away with getting rid of him. But like I have no excuse but to love him.
Nope. He's cute.
No, I know it's
He's
hard.
fun.
That's fine.
He runs around. He's chill.
He's
I mean, he wasn't chill, but I think he's
no,
probably chiller.
he's gotten a lot more chill.
Yeah, that's the cool thing
Um,
about dogs. They hit about a year old and super chill.
yeah, he's gotten a lot more chill. So that was when we were in Scotland, and again, the whole concept was so many of the scotches are so regionally locked
Hmm.
because their distribution is so small. Because like it's not like, I mean, England as a whole is not like, it's not a tiny population. If you're producing 1,000 of something,
You could
it's not
press
gonna it's
release
not gonna go
in
very it's not
British
gonna go
Isles,
very
and
far.
that's fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You don't really have to like extend it for our consumption.
Yep.
Yeah,
No. Yeah.
I guess
Every
whiskey again
all.
is pretty much like the Budweiser of Scotch, practically. Like it's just the big ones.
No, I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, we do
Mhm.
get a few. We certainly none of those super small releases like I'm talking about. Like those never leave Scotland. What I learned though is if you like, you can like talk to whiskey bars. Like if you're going over there, you can like
Mhm.
talk to whiskey bars and like see like if there's something they want you to grab, and they'll buy it
Mhm.
off of you.
Like the bars want you to get it from the distilleries.
I mean, all over the place, and they have like big like liquor stores too, where you can get whatever. There's a decent amount of gin production. Scotland's also actually known for really good gin. But
Interesting.
over
I
there,
mean,
they don't call it Scotch; they just call it whiskey.
yeah, because it's Scotch whiskey. It's only called Scotch whiskey outside of Scotland.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, so I'm not gonna say we get like only the Budweisers, but we get the
Other stuff.
Sierra Nevadas. Like technically a microbrewery, but like everyone can find it.
Now, I do have a question for you. Do you think that you were lied to about how exclusive those are?
Now they're numbered.
They're numbered. So I have another bottle
They're
that's
they're
numbered.
they're handwritten numbered.
I have another bottle that's numbered that's only available if you take a tour,
No, like,
and you
I'm
can only drink at that tour,
that was 2 years ago.
and it's right here.
Here's the
Pretty
thing
big.
though. So yeah, sure, that's true. And like maybe the whatever they bottled in 2013, maybe they bottled a lot more.
Hmm.
And like that's why they spread out the distribution. There's
They
also
have
more
lots of
there's
barrels,
also
maybe
more
more,
barrels in whiskey in Kentucky than there are people.
and
That's actually a real number.
that's true.
Something neat about Kentucky is there are more barrels of whiskey than there are people.
Really?
Yeah, swear to
Just
God.
like barrels in general.
Yeah, no, like barrels full of whiskey. There's a ton of huge distilleries. I mean, like Jim Beam
Mhm.
does so many barrels, it's absurd.
Do you think Kentucky or Tennessee has more barrels produced?
Kentucky, and it's not close.
So I kind of think it's Tennessee because I think Jack Daniels is big enough to kind of make up the difference.
Absolutely not.
No?
100% no. Like
Would you like to wager a point?
look, I'll accept the point wager, but I know that you're just like throwing. Like there's
All right.
no way you
Nope.
think there's more in Tennessee.
I'll take it because you're gonna need the handicap.
I'm pulling it up, buddy.
Let's do it. All right.
This is our
Point
point
on the
wager
line.
screen. Barrels of whiskey per state.
What if we just look at how many barrels are produced in Kentucky and then how many barrels are produced in Tennessee? 2.7 million in Kentucky. Now change out Kentucky with Tennessee.
You're nearly like Tennessee.
You know it, boy. Oh, do you see that number?
No, aging in the state.
Ah,
Not
damn, I read the $5 billion and I thought that was the number. But that would be a
Yeah,
stupid.
I mean, it's Kentucky. Like, do you really think Jack Daniels outproduces Jim Beam?
Nope, you win. We'll give you the point.
What is it? It's like literally it's called the whiskey capital. One for Anthony. I feel like some of these not only do I feel like I hope some of these episodes sort of go the way of the old school drunk history episodes from before Comedy Central bottom when they were on YouTube.
One of us dying.
Elijah Craig was the whiskey Jesus. In conclusion, we appreciate anyone that decides that they want to listen to the podcast.
I'm going to be honest. If you've made it this far, I'm going to hope that I can edit something together that is actually listenable. For taking us out, we were talking about giving our thoughts and final impressions on the whiskey that we drank throughout the episode.
I mean, it was good from the start. It was smooth from the start. There was no adoption period as far as like having to like work into the flavor of the harshness. Very little harshness. It is, if you can get your hands on it. I think there's a reason that they kept it so limited for as long as they did. Like, my story is real. Like, that is a real thing. For the price, it's a fantastic bottle. I cannot get over how much I appreciate this whiskey.
I'm going to be honest. I can't follow that up. I literally agree with everything you've said.
God, it's so good.
So, on that note, cheers.
Here's to something neat, and here's to you.
I'm a little drunk.